Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining today from whatever time it is for you. So, to frame this call, it's a space where we can come together and take a moment to zoom out of our product silos and try to see how our different areas of settings connect and what the common issues are. Um, I'm sure you guys have noticed, but our settings are not the best. And the more we kind of talk about the issues, I think the more we can surface them. And the main objective of the call today is to do a workshop to see if we can cohesively brainstorm ideas and formulate a hypothesis from the design perspective um, about what the biggest problems in our settings are, because I think in a way you guys are all intimate with different areas of settings or have different levels of breadth or depth, and it's cool to pick your thoughts. Um, so just as a like logistical thing for the call. If this is your first time in the sync, we have this designers list. Um, it's helpful to kind of know who's working on what areas of settings and what challenges they're facing. So if you haven't had a chance to fill that out yet, please add to it. It'll be really interesting to see. And then also, if you have discussion ideas, there's also a tab that you can add questions to that we can talk about later. Um, this sync for now is only happening once a month, so I think it is important to try to use this time mindfully because it was very difficult to get us all in a room together. So if you have ideas, please put them in or feel free to ping me or Pedro if you really want to surface something. And then as a note, because it was so hard to schedule everyone, I ran a pilot of this workshop yesterday with Jason, who's working on organizations and teams, and Michael Lee, who is in code review but has worked on settings before, has a lot of great ideas. So I have covered their boards so we don't cheat, but it was interesting. And another logistical thing, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, that's in a sync area where we can share work that's going on in settings. We don't really have time today to dig into the details, but feel free to look through people's work. It could be really interesting. Um, and with that, uh, any questions before we dig into the exercise?
Yeah, I just want to be very clear because when you say settings, I see different settings in different pages of GitLab. Which specific settings are we talking about?
Um, Specifically, we are talking about the whole thing, because I think the piece that's missing is the connections between all of our settings as a whole, and no one really has ownership of, well, I guess maybe someone has ownership, but no one has invested time into making sure that this is a cohesive experience, especially since we are one of the top DevOps platforms uh, in the industry today. But I don't think our settings is a top experience. If that makes sense. Cool. Pedro, do you have anything to add?
No, just wanted to clarify that we have the document, and what Lisa was mentioning, the discussion and sharing that is async is in the document, and there's a section for that. What we'd like to focus on now, the workshop part, is in FigJam, where there's a link in the agenda for that, but I also placed a link to the FigJam in the Zoom chat. And since we are 11 people, at least so far, there will be a part of the workshop where we will probably break into subgroups. I'm thinking that yeah, we might need to perhaps have two like copy this settings problem workspace workshop and have like two big boards for people to go through. But at the very least, we can, I guess, start with the user needs. And one of the things that Elisa, mentioned that she did in the pilot of the workshop is that they did user needs brainstorming, and they, added more stickies to that section. But that, yeah, maybe that is not the best use of our time now, because the user needs would be more for framing of what we're trying to do here. There are probably more user needs we can add there, and we would just jump, like maybe first read the user needs, and then once we all get a sense for that, we would break into two different groups. We could split the room here into 6 uh, people per group, and we would then do the sailboat. And yeah, we could try to have me in one group and Alyssa, you in another group. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah.
I'm making the groups now, Pedro.
Okay.
Doc. Okay, cool. Cool. So I guess let's go through the Figma board. So you guys can click on the FigJam link. Pedro's also linked it in the chat. And what we're gonna do is first I'm going to give you guys an intro to the workshop, and then we can break up into groups for the brainstorming. So as an overview, just gonna read through the user needs first, and then we're gonna do this sailboat exercise. Pedro, do you want to explain the sailboat analogy? It's really cute.
Yeah, so for people that are not familiar with this, the idea is first to start first by, given the context of the user needs, which we will go through in a minute, we will then do the sailboat where silently every person has a specific amount of time. I think it's 5 minutes, at least for the top part, which are the green stickies, and we're just going to add all of the things that we feel are working well, which using the boat analogy is are like the winds, the good favorable winds that are pushing us in the right direction. What does GitLab do today to and does well to address those user needs in the product? And after that amount of time, we will then focus on the anchors, the things that are holding us down, holding our boat in the same place, which are the problems, what isn't working well, what are some of the biggest blockers we have to address the user needs. And that will have more time. And then we will focus the remainder of the time on these red stickies of what's not working well, to then do some affinity mapping, which is like grouping them into themes and then discussing them at the end. And that's why it's valuable to have a slightly smaller group of people, in this case, groups of 6, so that we can then have the discussion time of the affinity mapping working well. And we can use FigJam's AI tools to help with the affinity and summaries, but to speed this up a little bit.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so as a primer to the exercise and to anchor us on the user, I'm going to go through some user needs to kind of get us thinking about the space. So um, as a repository manager, when they're setting up a repository, they want to be able to set up appropriate permissions. They also want to be able to control exactly how branches are protected. Um, and one thing that we hear about a lot is that it's difficult for customers to properly set up their repositories. And if you think about some of these enterprises, they have thousands of repositories, thousands of developers. Sometimes they're coming from other tools and competitors, and it's really hard. especially with the state of our settings today. I think I was talking to Austin and he said we have an entire offering to manually help people with setup and settings, which means that at some point our UX is failing. And then the yellow stickies are user needs from Michael and Jason yesterday. I think a really interesting one that Jason has from working on enterprise is that as an admin, I want to create enforcement. And also, I want to be able to audit all of my settings in a centralized place. So right now, it's difficult to get a sense of all of your settings at GitLab because it's so scattered across different pages. Um, there are quite a few other needs here. I'm not going to read them all because I think the most valuable way we can spend our time today is on the discussion at the end. But I hope that's a good primer for you guys thinking about the problem space. And for now, we're going to transition to the top of the sailboat. So the things that are keeping our sailboat flowing right now, things that we're doing well. So we're going to break out uh, people into two different groups. Let me just take a look real quick, create the groups. Let's see. How many people do we have?
Yeah, I'm adding
Six.
another board, one for group one, another for group two.
Awesome.
One is next to each other so that we can talk separately about these. And this will be very helpful in the end to kind of get together after the workshop and merge them.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like just to summarize, like in essence, I think we're looking at least 3 or 4 like overall user needs for settings and policies. One is being very efficient in setting those things for across your organization, and like one project, 2 projects, 3 groups, thousands of projects, it doesn't matter. Then is the effectiveness part, is making sure that they are applied correctly across the board. um, and and then the third part is the auditing, is if I want to go back and make sure, okay, how are things set up, being able to do that at scale as well. And this is across all features, so AI features, source code features, security, authorization, permissions, roles, like just think broadly, and like from the macro to the micro of your stage area. Yeah. How do we break out now, Elisa? Do you?
I have a list in the comments. So group one is Pedro, Gina, Michael Fangman, Jesse, Sayo, and Nick. And then group two is everyone else.
Could we actually like create breakout rooms here in Zoom? I'm not a
Oh,
host, so I can't do
yeah,
that,
sorry. Do-
because for the discussion part, it will be, I think having everyone speaking is going to be hard, the 12 of us.
Okay, breakout rooms. Okay, I am going to put us into breaking room.
Yeah, and I
That
can
would
see that the other group voted already.
They did get to voting. Yeah, if you guys have time async, if anyone is interested in continuing this discussion, we can plan a follow-up meeting. I know it's hard to find time with everyone, but it is really interesting what you guys wrote. And async, if you guys could add 3 votes on the 3 most important things that you would invest in if you were leadership and had a magic wand to fix today. And if you could also make a comment about why. I think the why is really interesting from people.
I
So are
think
we
you have to, I think you have to enable the voting for us, right?
Okay. Saya, we can do it async. So let me message you, but you can essentially vote with your little stamp.
are we voting on groups or the sticky notes themselves? Or
Um,
either of the two?
the sticky notes themselves, because if you have a concentration of sticky notes in one group, then you can see where the patterns are. Group 2 definitely one. Yes, sorry. Cool. So
Gotcha.
welcome everyone back to the big session. And I guess if you guys have a few minutes to stay, it would be really interesting to see what the different themes were for different groups. So I guess, Pedro, would you like to share the themes that your group came up with?
Yeah. So yeah, if you can, I'll spotlight me in case you want to follow me. But essentially, we were looking at 5 key themes. Um, yeah, I want to emphasize one of them first, which is, no clear organization of 400 plus settings. I don't think I can, highlight that there, but it's the fourth one, which it's like the more settings we have, and Christina was mentioning that we have I think 2 to 3 times the amount of settings that our competitors have on average. And the more settings we have, the harder it is to tackle every other problem. User interface inconsistencies, inheritance, impact, configuration complaint. It just the amount of settings, it really is hard. But overall, we have the user interface inconsistencies, both like the styling and design patterns, but also in terms of navigation features and settings with different names and terms. Um, Setting configuration challenges. So sometimes settings are in the UI, other times they're in files. We have multiple levels of configuration, which can break inheritance models. Inheritance was a very big thing overall. So to understand how one setting is impacting different levels and also dependencies between settings. No clear organization of those, many, many hundreds of settings. No distinction in importance or logical organization of settings, and the configuration complexity, that it's lacking transparency and it's not, are not well audited. And also specifically for AI, the settings are spread out and lack clear descriptions.
Awesome, thank you so much. I really like the summary as well. Um, for our team, a lot of the themes mirror what you guys found, but in general, challenges with setting organization and information architecture. We have so many settings and it is not laid out in a clear and discoverable way. There are a lot of redundancies, and it's really difficult for users to um, discover and find and be confident in what they're setting. And then we also have general user interface design issues, which comes with, I guess, the amount of settings, kind of like Pedro was saying before. We have inconsistent save interactions, inconsistent ways that we're approaching the UI. And then um, another one is inheritance and visibility of system status. So visibility of system status, meaning how we communicate with users when settings come from different places or they inherit. Is it clear? And then inheritance is basically what you said before, inconsistent usage of cascading settings, different like settings inheriting in different ways. Um, and then these are mostly notes about the lack of ownership that we have for settings at GitLab. So I know we are at time, but thank you guys all for this really, really valuable discussion. we are going to evaluate all of the results, combine them together, and make a summary. And Pedro, did you want to add anything?
No, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and for helping out with this. And I think we have plenty of material here to also bring, like a more united voice of not just one or another team. We have a lot of different inputs from different parts of the product, and all of this can be surfaced and has more weight than trying to tackle these things separately.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today.